film going behind me showing a small selection of work that I've done on several films. I did actually work on 70 films over the 48 years I worked in the film industry. I also did work outside of the film industry. But I was very lucky at the age of 16, after they turned down 12 people, they accepted me for an apprenticeship as a sculptor at Elstree Film Studios. So I was lucky from the fact that I did get it in the first place, and I was the only one ever in the film industry in England. So I had a great start. So at 16, I was a professional sculptor. I was working on small British films through the 4 years I did my apprenticeship. Probably films that you've never heard of. And then, because the film industry was in such a bad way, by the time I come out of my apprenticeship, on the day I came out, I was made redundant. So I thought my career was finished before it got going, really. But that's where luck kicked in again. I managed to get a job up in London. The old guy that had been working at this company as their sculptor retired, and I took his place, and I had prestigious work all over London to do. Most of it architectural. I did royal coat of arms for the Crown Court. I did wood carving for the Peers dining room in the House of Commons. There was a church that had a fire, so I carved in oak all the burnt cherubs and the like that had been burnt, so I replaced all them. But after being in that company for about 3 years and having done some lovely work, which I really enjoyed doing, and I'd honed my skills, so my skills had increased no end in that 3 years. And I got a phone call from the old guy that I worked under. He said, there's a film going into Elstree. It's a scientific film, and they want some strange characters sculpting. Little did I know exactly what they wanted, but I said, yes, I'd like to come back into the film industry. And in 1976, at the start of the year in January, I turned up at Elstree to work on Star Wars, A New Hope. The first character that I started on was the Stormtrooper armour. And I did it in sections. What they actually did, they moulded someone at the height of 5'10". And because there was 50 Stormtroopers costumes needed, I did it on a figure, a plaster figure. They'd moulded someone of 5'10", and it would fit on anyone from 5'8" to 6 foot. Over 6 foot, the gaps would become too wide and the costume would look wrong. And under 5'8", the joints would overlap and it would look wrong again. But I spent about my first month there working on the Stormtrooper armour. And then the lady that had been working with me, she left the film to be with her boyfriend on a film out in Holland called A Bridge Too Far, a war film. I was left there just by myself, so then I was the only sculptor on Star Wars. So I worked 76 days without a day off. So I was quite tired at the end of that. But the next one I worked on was Liz had done C-3PO, but I had to do all the finishing work on it. Even there was so little time, even the hands of C-3PO, I had to do actually on the back of, they didn't have time to mould Tony Daniels, who was in the costume. He came up one lunch hour and I had an hour to sculpt the hands on the back of his hands on plastic gloves and slipped them off and then tidied it up a bit and it was moulded. they were redone on The Empire Strikes Back, so I did what I could in an hour. Then the next character that I did, the designer on the picture called me into his office and said, "We have a new character for you to start by the name of Darth Vader." Little was I to know how iconic it would become over the years. But they moulded Dave Prowse, created him in plaster. He was a very big guy, bodybuilder, 6'6" high, and they produced him in plaster for me to sculpt on. I knew that whatever I sculpted after being moulded and cast in fiberglass would fit onto Dave Prowse, and that guaranteed that it would, the fact that they'd moulded him. I started off by doing the mask on the plaster figure, having cut it off at the shoulders so I could put it on a modelling stand, sculpting stand, and I could turn it as I was going. I had very little in the way of a design. It was just a simple little line drawing, no sense of form, from one angle. So I had a lot to do with the design of Vader's mask and helmet. So I did the mask back and front, although the back was discarded because Dave Prowse was so claustrophobic in it. So I did the mask, that was moulded and cast in plaster. I worked on that. Then I sculpted the helmet on top of that plaster mask that I had. That was then moulded. Again, it would fit onto the mask. They had fixings, so as Dave had the front put on, they could fix the helmet to the mask and he could wear it. But on stage, because he was claustrophobic, every time the camera stopped, he would take the mask and the helmet off straight away and wouldn't put them back on until they were ready to film again. I also did the chest armour on the main figure, the shoulder bells, which I had to do one each side, they were handed, and the shins as well. Again, I had to do both shins because they were handed to the shape of the leg. Then the next one character I did was the Death Star droid, which was a nice one to do. That was on the Sandcrawler, and CZ3, which is a strange boss-eyed character that Tony Daniels wore, and he said that was he really liked playing that character. But after I think it was about 4.5 months I worked on Star Wars. It was double-edged. I was pleased to finish. I was so tired after doing all the work that I had on it, but was disappointed that I was leaving a film that I'd enjoyed so much working on. And because I was fresh back into the industry, I thought, I hope I can get work. But I didn't need to worry because very quickly I got a film, funny enough, a war film, that I had to sculpt the figures that were in a church. And the reason I had to sculpt it was they filmed in the main church and then they had to reproduce it in the field near the church. It was a place called Maple Durham on the Thames in England. And I did the figures and some Gothic work. And pretty much straight after that, I had a phone call. Would I go out to Budapest to work on a Tudor film, Prince and the Pauper, where you get twins that were separated at birth. One becomes king and the other one's a pauper. They meet and they decide to change places. And so I was there for 6 weeks doing all Tudor architectural work for the inside of the palace. And it wasn't long after that I did my first Bond movie. I ended up working on 10 Bond films, James Bond films that is. But the first one was The Spy Who Loved Me. Have any of you seen The Spy Who Loved Me? Yeah, there's a few there. But in it, you have a character by the name of Jaws. He's 6'10". It's a guy called Richard Kiel, and he had these big silver teeth that were lethal. And Bond picks him up with a great big magnet by the teeth and drops him in the shark tank. Well, you can't have one of the main actors wrestling with a real shark. It was an 8-foot tiger shark that I sculpted. So the shark that he wrestles with was the shark that I sculpted. And I also had to do the inside of the mouth. And the shark that I did, the tiger shark, they have 3 layers of teeth. And as a shark loses a tooth, the next one comes almost up, within a day to replace it. So I did the 3 layers of teeth, and that was all put in the shark's mouth. You also see the shark swimming up to one of the actresses that got dropped from a lift down a slide into the shark tank, and you see the shark that I did swim up to the actress. Obviously, they don't do the gory bit, but you know what's going to happen when the shark swims up to her. I had fun on that one. I also did Abu Simbel, the guy that did all the special effects stuff for Bond in his cars and all that. He had his headquarters in Abu Simbel in Egypt, so I had a lot of Egyptian work to do, which was one of my favourite period pieces to do. And I've worked on a good few films where I've had to do Egyptian work. The other type of work that I really enjoyed doing was Assyrian work. The first one that I did was Clash of the Titans. I had a 25-foot high figure to carve in polystyrene that went into the main square, was painted to look like stone. I did a big Assyrian bull with both wings. That was also carved in polystyrene, but painted. And the entrance to the city, I did all the panels, kings and various panels went right the way around, and 2 Assyrian bulls there that were actually built into the side of the archway, which were quite nice to do. But everything was wanted extremely quickly. It was only out there for 6 weeks. The 25-foot figure I did in 11 days. I had someone helping me on that, but he'd never done any carving before, so most of the work fell to me, and I did most of it. But another franchise that I enjoyed working on were the Indiana Jones. The first one I enjoyed doing was Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, probably most of you have seen the Raiders films? Yes. A few more yeses then. One of the jobs that I've worked on that you probably would recognise is the Ark of the Covenant, which was all in gold. It was a lovely piece to do, and when they opened the lid, you see all the German soldiers were zapped, and they started, faces melted and all that sort of thing. So the special effects and makeup had some fun on that, but I had the job of doing the Ark. Also for that, I did a job that you'd probably remembered, is the scene where the high priest, you've got the sacrifice, and he puts his hand into the chest and pulls out a heart, and you can see the heart beating, and you've got the ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Well, I had the job of sculpting the heart. And the film, I don't know if they were having a laugh at my behalf, but they said, "We'd like you to go round to Harefield Heart Hospital. We'd like you to see a heart surgeon there and have a chat with him." So I went round and I was chatting to the heart surgeon, And I said, what's the closest heart I can get to a human being? And he said, well, the primates, a monkey. I said, well, I can't get a monkey's heart. And in the end, settled for a sheep's heart. Was quite close. So it was a sheep's heart that I used, and I had a plastic model from the hospital so that I could get all the blood vessels coming off at the right place. But anyway, as I was about to leave the hospital and say goodbye to the heart surgeon, he said, I'm doing open heart surgery tomorrow. Would you like to come along and watch? It didn't take me long to say thank you, but no thank you. I don't want to come. And it wouldn't have been much good to me. I could hardly say halfway through the operation, Doc, could you put his heart on his chest? I'd like to get a few pictures. I don't think that would have worked, so it wouldn't have been any good to me anyway. But anyway, that was a piece that I did there. Another one that's quite recognisable is when Harrison Ford climbed down the huge Anubis figures down into the snake pit. There were 3,000 Indian glass snakes, which aren't poisonous and they're not that big. There was also a cobra and a couple of pythons. And when they filmed from behind Harrison Ford's head, there was a big glass sheet there, and the cobra was behind, and you could see it moving. But when they shot back the other way, and you see Harrison Ford's terrified face because he was afraid of snakes, and you should be if it's a cobra in front of you, they couldn't use the glass sheet. So I had to sculpt the cobra that you see in front of him when they're shooting towards his face. I was only on Raiders for a few months, but from the franchise, the one that I most enjoyed working from was the Temple of Doom, which was a bit darker, and I've just realised I said I did the heart for Raiders of the Lost Ark. It wasn't. It was for the Temple of Doom. So yeah, it was it was for Temple of Doom. I did the heart, but I did lots of other really nice work on that. The opening sequence, you see a big gong with a dragon across it and the Paramount Mountains. Well, I spent 2 weeks doing this gong that had a dragon going all the way around with the Paramount Mountains in the middle, and it really looked good. They'd done the design for it, and it was one of those jobs I was really pleased with. I liked it. And then they came to me when I'd finished it. They said, well, we love it, but we've got the Paramount Mountains at the wrong scale. We can't pan back off of that. So what you see on screen with the Paramount Mountains going right the way across and a dragon going across the top of that, I had 2 days to do. So it was one of those jobs you'd think, oh, I did that lovely job and now that's what they're going to see on the screen and close up. So there was so much other work I did on it. But two of the nice things I liked doing was at the banquet where you had the snake and supposedly the baby snakes all came out of it. They were actually eels. But it was that scene where you see the dancers are in front of a horse that's carved, and it's supposed to be sandstone. Well, I had to carve 2 of them because there was an archway and there was one facing that way and one facing that, which means you can't use the same one and mould and cast. I had to carve both of them to look the same, and then they were painted to look like sandstone. Going back to snakes, there's a scene where there's a campfire and the main actress, Kate Capshaw, was sitting against a tree, and she was terrified of snakes and she would not have a snake near her. So there's a 14-foot python that slides down out of the tree, and it comes to rest on her shoulder. And she looked at it with a terrified face, grabbed it and threw it. Well, that python I sculpted, and the special effects did a good job of the way they made it move, coming down. It made it look really lifelike. But we've stopped the film at the point where it touches the floor, and you can see a lifeless snake there. You can see it's not real, but so much other work that I actually did on that movie. There was another film that I worked on for nearly a year, and I'll tell you about a job that nearly was. The first job that I did on the film, which was a film called Kroll. Anyone seen that? No, I thought maybe not. One. There's a few. Okay, this film, they wanted me to sculpt a 70-foot long snake. And I did a 1 inch to the foot model. So I did 70 inches of snake with curls, and in the top curl, there's a woman inside the curl. And the storyline was the main actor was going up through the mountains, and he hears screams coming from within a cave. And he runs into the cave, and he sees this woman within the coils of this huge snake. And then as he goes to help, she comes up out of the snake. She is the snake. And then the special effects came up with their pricing. I was going to do the 70-foot long snake in 2 marquee tents up on the lot at Pinewood Film Studios, where they've done lots and lots of huge films there. They're actually doing the Star Wars films now. All the modern Star Wars films have been done at Pinewood. All the Bond films were done there apart from 2. And so anyway, I was going to do it in 2 marquees, the whole 70 foot of the snake I was going to do. And they would have a real woman inside it. But it was going to cost so much for the special effects to do it that they cut it out. But there was a lot of other work. A lot of it was actually what we called bread and butter work in the film industry, where we did, me and another guy, we did a really strutted rock face where the horses come and they get off the horses in the film. But as most of you didn't see that film, I won't carry on about it. Bond movies. As I said, there were 10 Bond films I worked on. I'll talk about a couple for you. GoldenEye was a film where a lot of it was based in Russia. And there was one sequence where it's a night scene, but all the Russian statues were taken down within Russia at that period when the Soviet Union collapsed. They put into a statue park. Me and another guy had the job of carving all the big Russian statues. Carved Lenin 20 foot high. Stalin 20 foot high, Lenin at 17 foot. Other statues, panels, and we had 10 weeks to do that. All in polystyrene. All of it was coated, not by us, but and the designer didn't even come out to see it. He trusted me and the other guy that had worked for him quite a bit. I'd done several Bond films. They didn't even come and look at the work. They just said, bring it in, and they'd send a flatbed lorry along to my workshop in Elstree, and we load a figure up in 3 or 4 bits. So you'd see this flat lorry going off with these huge figures on, and I'm sure it got some looks on the way round to the Warner Studios where they were doing that Bond movie. But that was a nice job to do. Didn't go near the studios apart from when we first went in to see the designer, to see what designs there were and what he wanted. Because we actually did that at a price, and that's probably partly why we did it so quick. and we put a lot of hours in on that. I don't know how the time's going, is that? What? Yeah, actually Lindsay's just said to me, talking about 3D printing, but a lot of people ask me about, what's the other one? CGI. Has it affected the work? I retired 8 years ago, and I think that's after 48 years of churning out sculpture, and I think I probably retired at the right time, because CGI was coming in more and more. But that wasn't a bad thing, CGI, because of quite a lot of the time, directors would become ambitious as to what they could do. And we would build to a certain height, then they could extend that with CGI up to anywhere they liked. So from that point, you could create great images, but we would still get to do the work. Worse, in my opinion, is 3D printers, and they were getting bigger and bigger. Oh, Thor, that was a film that I worked on, and the film actually set me against the 3D printer. They got a really ornate panel for me to sculpt, and they wanted to see how much it cost for me to do it, how much it cost for the 3D printer, and what was the difference in the quality of both. So I sculpted it. I spent 4 days, and the 3D printer spent 2 weeks. So I was a lot cheaper than the 3D printer by quite a lot. Excuse me. And the designer wanted it aged, so I could age it perfectly. And the 3D printer, because it's in a plastic, they got another sculptor to try and, they got another sculptor to try and age it. But by knocking it, all it would do is knock the face of it off, so there'd be little holes. And it never worked. The aging looked awful. And then the last thing, which was the final straw, they discovered that the panel was 1/8 of an inch too wide. So in my case, because it was in clay, I could quickly, with a tool, take a 1/16 of an inch off either side, and in 10 minutes it was done. But with a 3D printer, they would have to put it back into the computer, and it would take another 2 weeks to do it. So the designer said on Thor, that's the last of the 3D printing we're having on this picture. So I won out in that case, but the 3D printers are getting better and better, and I'm sure that now it's probably doing a fair bit of the work that sculptors would have done. There are still sculptors in the film industry, and they're still doing some very nice work. But after 48 years, I got quite tired, and I was quite happy to leave it to the younger guys and ladies to carry on from what I'd left behind. So now I'm spending my life traveling the country with my wife. We've been to China, Japan, Philippines, all over America, Canada, Mexico, all over Europe, Germany alone 17 times, and we've met some beautiful people. We've got very good friends from all over the world, and Lindsay keeps in touch with people more than I do. She's very good at it. I do answer stuff as well, but she's the one that does most of it. What I could do now, I could waffle on for hours, but I'd like for you to be able to ask questions if you want. So if there's anyone with a question they'd like to ask, put your hand up. We've got a lot of shy people here. I'm sure someone has got the courage to ask the question. What happened? Well, some of them went back to Lucas Archives in America. Some got pinched. And I can tell you, when I was working on Temple of Doom, we were in the Star Wars prop room where they'd stored everything at Elstree. And I was very naive. I didn't really know about conventions or the worth, what the props were worth. And I'd see people come in at various times and going down the boxes. And it's only later that I found out that one or two stormtroopers got taken then. And it's only these years later that I realised just the value that there is on the props from Star Wars. Not just that, and it got to the point where on number one, our son got a job. I got my brother into the film industry and he was the head stagehand on that. And he got our son and he looked after the fire. So when any of the sets were taken down, they were taken down for him to burn, every bit. They weren't going to chance anyone taking bits of sets or bits of props or anything. And there's so much security that goes along with Star Wars now that it's untrue. We've got a lovely office and we've got Vaders in there, not original. The original A New Hope Vader that was worn by Dave Prowse was actually changed into Empire Strikes Back, so it doesn't exist. The original one he wore for the film doesn't exist as A New Hope. I think I've answered your question. Are there any more questions? There's one over here. Oh, there's one there.
What's your favorite sculpture that you worked on? Your favorite sculpture that you worked on?
Oh, favourite sculpture. I often get asked this, and it's always extremely hard to answer because I've done so much sculpture that is recognised, you would recognise on films, and I've enjoyed doing. So to say a favourite is extremely hard. But there is a lot of sculpture that I'm quite proud of and glad to put my name to. There's two bits that not quite so. If you get a film, as soon as that camera starts turning over, that piece is needed. They never want to hold the film up. So you might get given some ridiculous time to sculpt what they want. So you don't get the time to put the quality into that piece of work. So you might not be as proud of that as you would some of the work you've had more time with.
When you watch movies, do you observe sculptor work of other artists?
When was the last one? Yeah, I know all the sculptors that were working in the film industry as I did, and I pretty much know their work as I know my work. When you go and see a film, I try to ignore my work on it. Although some of the nicer bits, you try to see them, but sometimes they're totally in focus, and sometimes the focus is on the actors, and they're slightly out of focus in the background. But that's all part of the film industry. But what your work is doing is making the interiors that you see look genuine. So if it's a palace, all the really ornate work, I mean, like Octopussy, the Indian palace there, I did all the caps and bases, the Octopussy bed, all the ornate work above that. So that makes you think that it's genuine. So they'll film a palace in India from the outside, but you get to sculpt all the interior work. Actually, there is a story with that one. As Bond was being chased, he gets down to these stairs, big sweeping staircase, and he thought it'd be a bit quicker to slide down the staircase. He had a Kalashnikov rifle with him, and there's an ornate pineapple at the end, and he realizes that he's going to do himself some damage. So he gets the gun, shoots the pineapple off, and slides off the end and runs off. It's only a little bit. Okay, any more questions? Over there.
So the legacy that you made is incredible, but I wonder, did you take on any apprentice to carry on your work?
Any apprentice? No, I said at the beginning I was the only apprentice ever. So the only way to go into the film industry now is go through art college, maybe working a prop workshop up in London or somewhere, and then work your way into the film industry. But there are no apprentices anymore, which is, yeah. I have helped a lot of youngsters that have come into the film industry, given them advice on how to do their work, how to get over the problems they might face with what they're doing. So I've helped in that way, but they're not actually apprentices that I've helped. They're people that have managed to come into the film industry that haven't got a lot of experience. And I was at a position where I had so many years in the film industry and doing the sculpture that I could give them, hopefully, good advice. Any more questions? We have one over there.
Do you have any favorite material to work with, like clay, stone, wood?
The material. I do like wood carving, but I only once did a little bit of carving in the film industry. All the carving I did was outside, for the Piers dining room, for churches, for a big school I did a coat of arms. So yeah, I enjoyed wood carving. I also did wood carving at art college, went through my apprenticeship, which was good for when I did leave and I could do wood carving. But clay is the material that I would rather work in. You can get all the detail, really tight detail that you want on it to a good standard. Whereas with polystyrene, it's only good for doing large scale work. And the reason you use polystyrene as well as it, because it's the large scale work, if you had to sculpt it, it would take so long to do it. Then you'd have to mold it, and then you'd have to cast it in whatever material, either fiberglass or plaster. So it would cost a fortune to do any of the bigger jobs. Where with polystyrene, you carve it direct, and that's used on the film. You can also use it and paint it to look like bronze, to look like stone, or any material that you would use for outside work in the way of statues and even architectural work. Any more questions?
Yes, here one. Thanks for the talk. I'm curious, when you do your sculpture, how much freedom are you typically given? I mean, can you express yourself creatively, or do you feel stifled because you have to do just what the movie requires?
Both. Sometimes you get to have a fair bit of input. I mean, if it's a architectural bit, often like I did a 14-foot high winged figure for Alexander the Great, and that was done in clay. So they give me a book with a picture about 6 inches high. So I have to draw that at 14 foot high, and then I sculpt it, really mainly with my input, but you get some sort of idea from the small picture that you've got. But it varies. Are we done? Any more? Okay then. Well, I have to say that I love your city here. We've had 4 days here. It's a beautiful city. And we've got some more time here to see around. We're going to Lake Bled on Monday. I'm sure we'll love that. So you live in a lovely place. Thank you very much.